Good morning, good morning, good morning again, folks. Welcome to this morning's final front load and another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, I know I haven't done it earlier. Sorry for the bad appearance. It's morning, and I don't feel like being the doll today. All right. Folks, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or with the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links up there in the description box. In particular, I would like you to take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started by Autistics for Autistics. In that article, they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center felt so threatened by this particular article that they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, folks, so please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're also going to see linked their their public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC sees through with their threat. 2 trigger warnings. First trigger warning. When we speak on places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and Agape School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, folks, please go ahead and utilize those headphones. This channel, second warning, is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they're watching this, very obviously parental supervision here is advised. And excuse me for allergies. A specific ban limits interferences with a practitioner's authority by restricting the available range of devices through regulatory action, rather than being a particular interpretation. As the FDA argues, this understanding is consistent with both the ordinary meaning of the terms limit and interfere, as well as the Supreme Court precedent. To limit is to restrict bounds or limits of, or to curtail or reduce in quantity or extent. To interfere in turn is to interpose in a way that hinders or impedes, come into collusion, or be in opposition. Preventing manufacture of a device and seizing existing devices both limits and interferes with the physician's ability to prescribe or administer them. So, we don't care this device has landed the kids in ERs with third and second degree burns. We don't care that we have the 7-hour surveillance tape of Andrew McCowan's being tortured for hours on end. We don't care about the ER documents, the DESI reports, the multiple kids brave enough to stare down their torturers in the face and come against the device. None of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is the FDA dare tried to save any of these kids. How dare the FDA tell the doctors that they cannot administer this device to torture neurodivergent kids until they start acting neurotypical? How dare the FDA try and stop the torture of an extremely vulnerable population when the doctor has already declared that we should be tortured? Is that what I'm reading here? Because that sounds like what I'm reading here. This sets a dangerous precedent. If we allow this to go on unchallenged, what the DC Circuit Court of Appeals is saying here is that the government and regulation departments have no authority over what a doctor uses any medical device for. That's what that says. A doctor, let's just use, you can call it a logical fallacy if you want to, but I'm going to use it anyways. So, if a doctor determines that a machete must be used instead of a scalpel in surgery, and anyone has an issue with that, well, then this logic applied in that situation would say that nobody had the right or the authority to say that the machete could not be used in place of the scalpel. The doctor determined that the machete was necessary. So the doctor's idea of what should be used should be the one that we're going with, even when it's been proved to cause infinitely more harm than good. That's what this says here. That we are not allowed to interfere in any way, shape, or form in regards to any doctor at any time using any form of device as long as they have determined in their opinion that it's necessary. Nobody is allowed to question the doctor. Do you not see the problem here, DC? Do you not see the problem here? Away from the argument that the device in question is not the same as the device you keep using as an absolutely see-through defense. Let's put that aside for the moment, that that particular device has not been approved by anyone. Okay? Let's put that aside for a minute. You seem to be saying here that in spite of the harm that a particular device has been known and proven multiple times under multiple occasions with irrefutable evidence to cause harm in the individuals on which it's placed, none of that evidence matters. The only thing that matters is the doctor who gets their paycheck signed by the psychotic animal who came up with the device in the first place. Their opinion matters more than the pain and suffering of autistic people. Yeah. Apparently, that's where we are, folks. Apparently, that's where we are. And that we are not allowed, according to the DC Circuit Court, in any way question the treatment being used. If anybody wants to know why I'm disillusioned in regards to government as a whole, the media, politicians, and everybody else, it wasn't JD versus AH, folks. It is this shit right here. Okay? I'm gonna like need therapy after I'm done with this video. As to the statutory reference to legally marketed, a device is legally marketed if it is lawful for a manufacturer to sell the device or a practitioner to prescribe or administer it. I'm glad you asked, DC Circuit Court, because let me reiterate it again. The current GED device and its current iteration as it exists now has not been approved for legal use anywhere for any reason at all. Okay? It has not been determined that it is able to be legally marketed for the manufacturer. Okay? Are you hearing me on this? It's not been approved. It's not been approved. It's not been approved by anyone. A fact that has come out multiple times since the hearings on the device began in 2014. And to this day, right now in 2023, has still not gotten FDA or any other form of approval outside the psychotic circle jerk that is the JRC. Okay? I'm glad we could discuss this. Ugh. The statute does not suggest, nor should we read into it, a limitation that the device must be marketed for the particular use for which the practitioner wants to utilize the device. Indeed, that would eviscerate the statute's protection of off label use. Any device that the FDA attempts to ban for one but not all uses will accordingly still be legally marketed. Okay, so the DC Circuit Court of Appeals believes that it doesn't matter whether the FDA approves of a medical device being used or not. Doesn't care if it actually adheres to the restrictions and regulations put in place by said department or not. They believe that you are able to use that item legally as long as a doctor prescribes it. The fuck am I reading right now? This goes back to the machete argument. A machete, in its current iteration, has not been approved by anyone to be used as a device in a medical operation. Under this particular argument here, if the doctor approves and decides to use a machete in the place of a scalpel, that is perfectly legal and considered reasonable according to what the DC Circuit Court is arguing here. Okay? I use that particular analogy to get a point of how stupid this is and how dangerous it is. It's legal because the doctor says it is. That's what they're saying. And that the only way the FDA would be able to ban it would to be ban it for any particular out of the box use that can be possibly imagined. And if there's another way of using it that hasn't been imagined, then you can't ban the device. If you want to all know why I was aged way before my time, this logic would be it. Jesus. Any device that the FDA attempts to ban, not for one but for all uses, will accordingly still be legally marketed. So you see this here? It doesn't matter whether the FDA approves of it or not. If your doctor says yes, it doesn't matter if it causes irreparable harm to the patient. Remember when I said that our lives don't matter to people? Because the only opinion that matters is the doctor who's administering my torture, according to the DC Circuit Court. My opinion as the poor person who got born with a particular diagnosis being tortured because I'm just not neurotypical enough, what I'm going through doesn't matter. The fact that this place has killed 6 kids does not matter. The fact that Andre McCollins was literally shocked into catatonia doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the opinion of the almighty doctor. Am I reading that right? Do I have to go freaking Rottenborn on this? God, I hope not. So you are saying that a device that's had no regulation and no testing is still considered legally marketed, and that anybody like the FDA who's trying to protect these kids have that authority entirely ripped from them. So what does that mean for the kids? You are essentially saying that no one has the authority to be able to protect us from these monsters. In this case, the practitioners can still prescribe or administer electrical stimulation devices for other conditions like smoking. Again, with the fast and loose with the truth, these two devices are not the same, DC. They are not the same. But you got to ban all electrical stimulation devices then. What kind of logic is this? The FDA banned one device. One. One. Completely unrelated to the SIBIS machine that they keep using as their defense. God, I hate these people. The statute does not suggest, nor should we read into it, the limitation that the device must be marketed for a particular use for which the practitioner wants to utilize the device. Nobody's saying that, Karen. Nobody is saying that. Nobody is trying to go into the doctor's office, invade, and tell the doctor his job. We are trying to protect kids from monsters who have tortured them with impunity for 4 damn decades. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to go in and invade medicine and tell the doctor his job. We are trying to prohibit a specific cult-like nature school that one of its core values is torturing us into being neurotypical. Okay? Jesus. Nobody's trying to ban the SIBIS device. We're trying to ban a specific device that is used for one purpose and one place and has not been marketed literally anywhere for any reason except there. We're not talking about every single electric skin shock device. We're talking about one specific device. To use the argument that in order to get that device banned, you must therefore ban every single device that's even remotely on the surface like it is nonsensical as hell. Any device that the FDA attempts to ban for one but not all uses accordingly still be legally marketed. In this case, practitioners can still prescribe or administer electrical stimulation devices for conditions such as smoking. Electrical stimulation devices are therefore legally marketed, and as discussed previously, banning them for a particular use limits or interferes with the practitioner's ability to administer or prescribe them as practitioners sees fit. The plain meaning of the first sentence of Section 396 demonstrates that the FDA does not have the authority to limit practitioners' use of a device for a particular purpose. Mother of God. Give me a second. Let me reiterate. The FDA nowhere at any point in time said that all skin shock devices needed to be banned. The DC Circuit Court is trying to tell you that's the problem. What the DC Circuit Court doesn't want you to know is that these two devices' similarities stop at the surface of them. The GED device and the SIBIS device are not the same thing, like the DC Circuit Court wants you to believe. Though on the surface they both provide skin shock, the GED device was engineered to cause the maximum amount level of pain. Dr. Matthew Israel's own words. That particular device was designed to cause pain to neurodivergent people. To be used and administered at the JRC for what they consider non-compliance, including approval from a physician paid by Dr. Matthew Israel to shock someone for over 7 hours on a 4-point board for the high crime of refusing to remove his coat. Okay? It's not widely marketed anywhere in the United States or outside of the US, except for one thing and one place. No one is arguing that the SIBIS be able to be used by individuals who wish to use it, having them prescribed by physicians who think that they would help them. We're talking about one specific device used for one specific purpose. Your decision, DC, is a lie. Your decision is pulled straight up from the pages of the JRC. They are bad faith arguments built on a multitude of lies. This decision that you are passing on to us tells disabled people all over this country that you do not think that we are worthy to be protected from places as predatory as the JRC. We're going to close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.